Okay, so hello and welcome to the Alchemist Subclass Guide for 2023. So, overall, what do I think of the subclass? Unfortunately, I give it a B rank. Okay, now there are many reasons for this that we'll go through this entire guide, but just know I think that every other Artificer subclass is better and usually rank them at A. Your potions that you get for free on your class abilities, basically, they are rolled for whenever you drink them or someone else drinks them, which means you could be rolling to drink an ultra self potion in the middle of combat, which is not very good. But you can spend spell slots to pick the ones you want, which we'll get more into detail. Okay, you are not a full caster. You don't get the extra attack that armor gets, that battlesmith gets, and you don't have any way to do extra damage as a bonus action like the artillerist does. Okay, now this means that you are in the bout as far back as possible, basically with the casters. You are a full support character through and through, okay? If that idea does not appeal to you, probably don't play an Alchemist. Your whole shtick and your whole thing for your party is you give them buffs that they have to actively take. If they don't remember to take it, it's not a class that's going to do very well in that situation, okay? So, starting off with character creation, just like the Artificer, I'll put a link up there on the title card, okay? It'll pop out. If you haven't watched that video, go watch that. Otherwise, it's the same thing for character creation here, okay? You want to try and dump your strength, you don't need it. Your dex at 14 plus 2, okay? We will come back to this a little bit with the race. You may want to increase your dex, or you may want to stay at 14. The reason I have it at 14 is very simply because if you wear half plate, you can keep it there and get the full benefit of the plus 2 from half plate, okay? Your 13 con, again, you're going to increase it, so put 13 there. You have a plus 1. Your 15 intelligence, again, trying to get this as high as possible. And your wisdom and your charisma, again, you can swap however you want to do that for. You're going to use your ASIs to boost your intelligence and your con, and then choose a feat. Okay, but we'll get in each one of those specifically. Just know that, especially the Alchemist, you don't actually get access to heavy armor, and you do not have access to martial weapons, which means you will be using simple weapons, and you only have one attack. That's the thing to remember here, okay? So, what do I think are some races that, could potentially be viable? Just like as I said in the Artificer video, that variant human and custom lineage are the best. Rock Gnome is very good Artificer if you want to try that out. However, specifically for the Alchemist, I would actually recommend that you try out Fairy, okay? Or any race that gets spell slots, okay? And is very specific because you're an Alchemist. The main reason is you will be able to use these spell slots, quote unquote, or spells once, basically once you cast them, okay? So for fairy magic, you get fairy fire and enlarge and reduce, and you can cast it, once, I think, for each. Okay, that lets you have basically 2 spells that you can have always ready. Okay, and you can't turn those into elixirs. Okay, but that means you have spells back in the backup that you can actually, still have some. Okay, again, recommended skills are still the same. No dark vision, no problem, because you can get, goggles of night. At level 3, we're going to talk about, this is where you actually get your stuff starts to come online, okay? This is the Alchemist spell list. It's okay, okay? Healing Word is very good. Ray of Sickness is not very good because it inflicts the poison condition, and it's a Constitution saving throw, which means monsters will more than likely pass, and then the monsters that don't pass somehow are immune. Most monsters are immune to the poison condition, basically. Bone demons, pretty much anything here is going to be poison immune. So, at least to the condition. And if your creatures aren't like that, then yeah, sure, it's a fine spell. Flaming Sphere is bad because you have to hit a creature with the sphere and it moves. The problem is when you do that, they take like 2d6 damage. Okay, cool, fantastic. Then they start their turn and they move, and then when you hit them again, they have to make a Constitution saving throw, and you can see how they can more than likely pass this, and you can see how it can be pretty bad there. However, Gaseous Form, pretty good. Mass Healing Word, pretty good. Death Ward, Blight, pretty good. Cloud Kill and Raise Dead are pretty good, but just remember that at 17th level, those are your 5th level spell slots, okay? But however, all these spells are prepared, so you don't really need to worry about it. I would just say that these extra spells are not amazing, okay? You also get a 2 proficiency with Alchemist Supplies, so there you go. And you always get your Alchemist spells that are always prepared, so that's what you start out with at 3rd level. And this is the full spell list that I would recommend that you take as an Alchemist, okay? You don't have to fully go with it, but I would just recommend them. Your 2 cantrips that I would recommend is Firebolt and Guidance, okay? The reason Firebolt we'll come back to in a minute is basically because you get a plus damage, kind of like a Warlock does, and Guidance is the best, right? 1st level, Absorb Elements, Fairy Fire. If you are not a fairy, you can take Fairy Fire. If you are a fairy and you already have the Fairy Fire magical spell learned, you can take something else. At 2nd level spells probably Aid, Blur, Invisibility, Lesser Restoration. That one you can actually swap out later because you are an Artificer. Because later on you actually get 5 uses of Lesser Restoration if you have 20 intelligence. See Invisibility, Vortex Warp, and Web. Okay, Vortex Warp is pretty nice, especially if you want to teleport you and your party around. Catnap I would recommend for your 3rd level spell slot if you have a Warlock and Fighters in your party, or anybody that benefits from a short rest. If nobody benefits from a short rest, you obviously don't take Catnap. Fly and Revivify by then are better. Your 4th level, Fabricate, okay? It's very simple. It lets you basically build a bridge out of wooden logs in 10 minutes. It's very useful in situations that call for it. 5th level spell slots, Greater Restoration and a Wall of Stone. Again, you can change them out, change however you want to use those, okay? Hey, you there, D&D player. Do you want a D&D supplement book that lets you run D&D mass combat faster? Also available in a Foundry module? You want the ability to make and run a mercenary company in your campaigns without tearing all of your hair out? Want maps so that you can run all of this additional content? Well, I got the deal of a lifetime for you. You get that and so much more over on my Patreon. You can also go check out the free stuff. The link in the description. Okay, so your first subclass feature that you get at 3rd level is your Experimental Elixir, okay? Basically, what this does is it lets you produce a magical effect in a bottle, okay? However, the ones that you get every time you take a long rest are random, okay? You roll on the Experimental Elixir table down here that you can see, and you get a random one that you don't know which one it is until it is drank. So, that's pretty bad. Okay, but you do get 3 of them at 15th level, and you get 2 of them at 6th level. So, that's a thing. They're free, so you can't turn down free, but it's not exactly ideal. Now, technically, you can make a lot of elixirs by burning your limited spell slots that you really don't have a lot of, and you get to choose the effect down here of what they will do. Okay. Your elixirs go away on a long rest or when drunk, so you can't store them and you can't sell them. Well, I say sell legally. If you give them to someone and say, hey, here's an elixir, bada boopy, and then disappears, that's on you, and you can do what you want there, but that's up to you there. So at 6th level, you get 2 per rest free, and then 15th, you get 3, okay? In order of usefulness that I would use them would be, boldness, and then we got flight, healing, resilience, swiftness, and transformation. That's the order I would make them in, basically. Again, boldness is very good because you can stack this with bless. Okay, because it's a potion, it's non-concentration, which means you can stack bless on top of that, which means you will roll 2d4 for every attack roll or saving throw. You can see how this could get really ridiculous if you combine it with a cleric that we'll talk about later. Okay, so that's what I'll say about those. At 5th level, you get an A-ranked feature, in my opinion, which is Alchemist Solvent, okay? Now, it's a little misleading and a little hard to understand, so we're going to break it down. Basically, you develop, blah, 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 blah. You gain a bonus to 1 roll of the spell, okay, when you cast a spell. That roll must restore hit points or be damage roll that deals acid, fire, necrotic, or poison damage and equals your intelligence modifier, +1, plus, 5. +1 or +5. Let's just say +5. And again, a spell can be a cantrip. There's a whole thing you can go down here, but I'm not going to do it. It's just basically cantrips or spells. Okay? Now, if you have Firebolt, which is why I recommended you take it, at 5th level, you do 2d10 plus 5 damage, okay, within your intelligence of 20. It's somewhat near the Warlock's Agonizing Blast. However, this is important to remember, a Warlock's Agonizing Blast, because you technically get 4 separate blasts, it does 5, 5, 5, 5, okay? So, at 5th level for a Warlock, with the Eldritch Blast, they get 2d10 plus 10, because they have to hit a target twice. You only get the plus 5, but it's still a nice buff, okay? You can also just spam Healing Word and heal for more. So if you had 20 intelligence, you do 1d4 plus 5 for every healing word that you spam out per turn, okay? So that is actually a very useful ability. At level 9, you get another A rank feature, in my opinion, which is the Restorative Agent, okay? Basically, it's a useful ability if you spend all of your first level spell slots on making elixirs. They do not have to specifically be healing elixirs. However, if you do combine it with a healing elixir, it is very good. And the reason is because a creature gains 2d6 plus 5. Let's just say your intelligence is 20, so 2d6 plus 5 temporary HP every time they drink an elixir. If you had a healing elixir, you would do, let's just say 2d6, healing, and then they have the 2d6 plus 5 temporary HP on top of that they get. You can see how this could be pretty good. Now, theoretically, if you spent all of your spell slots, you could make 11 elixirs per long rest at level 9. That is quite a lot, as you will agree, okay? Now, 2 of those, you don't really know what they are, but the other 9, you do have the ability to know what they are, but you won't have any spell slots. This is why I recommend that you play a race that has some additional spell slots or anything with magic related, so you have something to as a backup. Also, with Restorative Agents, another thing is you can cast Lesser Restoration equal to your Intelligence modifier. So if your Intelligence is 20 by level 9, which it can be, you can do that 5 times per long rest. That is quite useful for ending conditions that would be crippling to a party. So overall combined, I give it an A rank feature, okay? So if you've been enjoying the video so far, please leave a like. It does help spread the video out. Otherwise, at level 15, you get a B ranked feature, in my opinion, okay? It's called Chemical Mastery. So, I don't rate this very high, mainly due to the fact that you basically gain resistance to acid damage, poison damage, and you are immune to the poison condition. Now, that's not very good, because, one, the ability comes online so late into your campaign. We're talking at 15th level. If you play at this type of level for a very long time, I will be impressed, but most of the time it's only a few sessions for most of us that will be playing at this high of a level. However, it's still technically good because you get Greater Restoration and Heal are very nice, and you can cast each one of them once per long rest, okay? That is something to keep in mind. The 6th level heal is very nice, and Greater Restoration is obviously very good for a 5th. Now, the problem with Chemical Mastery, again, the first bit where you're resistant to acid damage and poison damage, but immune to the poison condition, is the fact that Periapt of Proof Against Poison exists, okay? Basic rules is a rare item, but it makes you immune to the poison condition and immune to poison damage, and it is non-attunement slot required. Now, many people will say that, hey, you can't, predict what items you get, okay? That's true. It's up to your GM. However, at level 15, you probably have enough money to buy that item, in particular if you are continuously facing enemies that poison you. And if they're not poisoning you, then the whole thing is not very useful. That's what I will say about that. At this high level, you can probably scrounge up at least one rare item, probably by this time, that you can buy or seek out, okay? So that's what we'll leave that there. Now, your feats, okay? Every ASI you get for 8, 12, 16, I would recommend that you boost intelligence or your con, okay? Get your intelligence to 5, or, 20, and then have the modifier of plus 5. So, simple, get your intelligence to 20 as fast as possible, is what I would recommend. Your constitution, that's up to you, okay? Just remember, the other feats I would recommend is Fey Touched, simply because it's a half feat that you can increase your intelligence by 1. So, for example, if you took Fey Touch to right off the bat, and you had standard array, you could make your 15 intelligence a 16, and then get the +3, okay? Just straight off the bat. You also learn Misty Step, which is a very good spell, okay? And you can cast it once. And you also learn, I believe, another spell that you can cast, okay? Yeah, so and 1 level spell of your choice, okay? So you can cast another one. And hypothetically, if that spell was Bless, very good, you can stack that with Boldness Elixir feature to basically give somebody in your party, or 3 people in your party if you made 3 elixirs and had Bless, you can cast that. Both of you, they can all drink it, and then you can cast Bless, and they can get 2d4 on every attack and saving throw. That's very useful. Very useful. That's why I would recommend Fey Touched. Healer is basically so you can be ridiculously good at healing people. Because not only do you have your elixirs that heal people, you have the 9th level ability that lets you give temporary HP on top of them drinking any elixir. But if you combine that with a healing elixir, that's a lot of HP and a padding of temporary HP they have. Then you also stack that with healer, meaning that every, I believe every short rest, okay, they can regain the ability to do the feature again, which basically means that if you heal them with healer, Babada Boopy, everyone gets 1d6 plus 4 HP plus, additional HP to the character's maximum amount of hit die. So if you're like a 10th level character that's plus 10, that's pretty nice. That's basically a healing potion right there. On top of an elixir, that's a healing potion. On top of the 2d 6 plus 5 temporary HP. Very good. Okay, that's why I'd recommend healer. Otherwise, Warcaster, Mobile, Linguist, Skilled, and Skill Expert, just like from Artificer, are always very good, okay? And basically, I talked about the Fey Touch with the Bless stack, okay? Now, we're going to come on to multiclassing, okay? There's a lot of different ones you can do. I will link down below in the description RPG bot, specifically for the Artificer and Alchemist. Go check that out, okay? This is where this is from. I will just talk about them for a little bit. So Fighter, Artificer, okay. Simply, if you want heavy armor, you can get this. If you take Fighter 1 and then Artificer. I don't know if I'd recommend that, but that's up to you on that, okay? You will need to buff your strength up so you can actually wear heavy armor, so, However, Rogue, any level, really, until you get Expertise, and then at 3rd level Rogue, you get Fast Hands, so basically you can use an object as a bonus action. Cool, fantastic. The real kicker there is the Expertise. If you can be expertised in investigation or arcana, you basically never fail any investigation check or arcana check, which is very handy, okay? A wizard, you can always do with the Blade Singer and Artificer Battlesmith if you wanted to roll it like that, but that's, again, for them specifically. However, for this class specifically, for the Alchemist, you can do Cleric, Death Domain with the Reaper feature that lets you, if you're not casting a cantrip as a cleric spell combined with the Alchemist Servant, you can add your intelligence damage to Chill Touch and Toll the Dead while targeting 2 adjacent creatures, okay? This requires a lot of setup, but it can be worth it. And what you do with this alchemy, you can do be a Peace Cleric for emboldening and combine that with the Bless and the Experimental Elixir, Boldness, as I talked about, and you can gain 3d4 attack rolls and saving throws beyond the 1st level subclass feature. There's not a lot to be gained from a Cleric dip since Alchemist already gets comparable 1st level spells. So that's your Cleric one if you wanted to make your Blesses stupid and have 3d4 on every attack and saving throw. So, there. However, the Sorcerer I do kind of recommend here. Now, basically, the reason is because you can, as a Sorcerer, have Sorcery points. And with those Sorcery points, you can technically make, spells. And you can also, fun fact, degrade spells. So if you take a 2nd level spell slot, you can degrade it into sorcery points and then make it into, very good, 2 1st level spell slots. And when you do that, because the elixir states that it requires a 1st level spell slot or anything else, you get 2 elixirs out of your 2nd level spell slot, okay? That's very important because your 2nd level spell slot only is directly 1 elixir, okay, if you do it that way. If you go down, make it sorcery points, make it into 2 1st level spell slots, you get 2 elixirs. That is why Sorcerer is actually a very good class, multi-class combo for you here. Any Sorcerer subclass you want, that's up to you there, okay? Warlock is also very handy, and it's just basically just, you don't have to think about that, you don't have to do the math in your head and the writing out of how many sorcery points you have and all that stuff. You just get two first level spell slots that you can burn on elixirs. That's another 2 free elixirs for basically a 1 to 2 class level dip. That's very good, okay? I don't know if I go 3, because then you would have your second level spell slots, but that's up to you. I'd basically take a 1 or 2, but that's your multi-classing done for you right there. Now, before I let you go, I'll just say on how to fix the Alchemist, in my opinion, this is again my opinion, to make it on par with the other subclasses. Basically, you need send this to your GM. If you're a player and you want to play an Alchemist, it would be helpful for them to understand this. Let the players pick the 3 free elixirs they get. This lets them not mungle about trying to burn spell slots on potions because they don't know what the other 3 actually do, which is bad, okay? Or, if you don't like that, you can roll it and then tell them what the actual potion is so that they know what it is so that they can either use it or not use it, okay? Either of those work, but having it rolled when you drink it is very bad, very inconsistent. Next, I would add the extra attack ability and the battle ready ability from the Battlesmith, again at their current levels, 3 and 5. Now you may think this is extreme, but I wouldn't necessarily think so. Because Armorer gets their extra attack, and also the ability with one of their shoot upgrades to use their intelligence modifier to attack with. Very good. Battlesmith already gets these features naturally, except they also have a massive creature with them that's called a Steel Defender that does more damage on top of that with their bonus action, and protects them. So they're fine with this. Then you have the Artillerist that has a spamming cannon on their arm that does 2d6 damage, and then also can heal with 1d. I think it can spam out 1d6 temporary HP to everyone before every single battle, and then can continuously do that during the battle. So again, this is just technically making them on par, with the other subclasses, so that you feel like you have an actual decision to make there. Okay. As I said, it would move it to an A tier subclass, and the 15th level feature to fix it should just straight out make you immune to acid and poison damage, and you just leave the poison condition basically as it was. You're immune to it, okay? Because if a magic item can do damn near the same thing as a feature on a 15th level feature, that's not very good, okay? So I'll leave it there. Hope you guys like this. Please leave a like, comment if you have any Alchemist experience in your D&D games. I would love to hear about it. Otherwise, I'll put a video out right there for the armor that we will talk about next, and then I'll put a playlist thing up here somewhere. So other than that, see people later, and keep on gaming.